This is the Red Alert. Civil defense information will be broadcast at 6:40.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Y2K, how can we prepare?
Stop a few of their machines and radios. Throw them into darkness for a few hours.
We are fighting for our lives. My family must survive.
Food for 5 years. 1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from Southern Command, better known as Delinquent's Gully, in the beauty that is West Tennessee. Streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Odyssey. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I'm Toolman Tim. Today is, holy cow, October the 3rd, 2023. This is episode 379 of Workshop Radio. How is everyone out there? We're going to open right up with the most appropriate I shit you not segment I have ever done. Cue the dad jokes right now. Hey, local prepper, great to see you. So you guys know I shit you not is the opening segment, quite often on Thursdays, where I give you the background of a very common phrase. And for those who haven't seen on social, we just completed our composting outhouse at Delinquent's Gully. So today we're going to talk about the origin of the crescent moon on outhouses. So I hope you enjoy this because I did. This all came from Off-Grid Ping, who messaged me on YouTube just earlier saying, your outhouse won't pass an inspection without the crescent moon. And we've been talking about that for a bit. So where in the hell did that idea ever come from, or that concept? Lots of people say it goes back centuries. Well, here's the deal. It doesn't exactly go back centuries, at least not completely. The earliest documented case of a crescent moon on an outhouse is 1960. There's no pictures, drawings, anything previous to that. However, that doesn't mean that they weren't doing something like that. This seems to be one of those cases where something that was being done amongst the populace kind of got twisted a little bit into pop culture, and then pop culture passed it back down to the populace. So the best theory that most people have posited on this is that way back when they used to have male and female outhouses, which is absolutely crazy. So anyway, no, not. But so what they said was the moon traditionally the moon represented female, and the sun or the stars represented the man or the male. And of course, since men are lazy and don't need to use the outhouse very often, they just go in the bushes wherever they were. The male outhouses fell into disrepair, and eventually all that was left was the female-centered outhouses. Is it true? Is it not true? Probably not true. Reading up on the history of it, which was kind of funny. However, things they did do, because have you ever heard my dad talk about in his episode he did last summer, they would use whatever they had on hand, and the old timers wouldn't spend any more money than they had to. So what did they do? Instead of, coming up with or buying a piece of metal for the handle, they would just cut a hole in it. Quite often they would cut hearts or V's or diamonds or half circles. Eventually, when hardware became less expensive, they started moving it to the center as a decoration. And at some point it went from half circle to a crescent moon. Earliest documented case was 1960 when the crescent moon started coming up. They think it came out of cartoons and comic books. Not really sure. But either way, that shape that they originally put in the doors of the outhouses was threefold. It let in light, it let out stink, and it also worked as a handle. I don't know. I thought that would be fun. I mean, there is nothing better than talking about outhouses than in a segment of I Shit You Not. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let's get the announcements out of the way, and then we're going to dive into tonight's show. All right. So whoever's going to be at the Midwest Preparedness Festival, I'm stoked to see you. I'm going to be there in, oh my goodness, 1, 2, 3. Anyway, I'll be there on Thursday evenings when I'm showing up. I'm leaving tomorrow we've been just north of our property, halfway between Camden and where the property is. Brian Alexovich and I have been working on the property. We'll talk about that a bit more. So I can't wait to see you folks up there. And next weekend is Self-Reliance Festival. If you haven't picked up, Byron Roberts says it's called a country moon. I like that. That actually sounds nicer than a crescent moon. Next weekend is Self-Reliance Festival. I am stoked to be there. I cannot wait. That will be the end of, so a week and a half, 2 weeks from now, I'm actually going to be on the road heading home. It's crazy that this 36-day road trip is quickly coming to an end. That will be when you include Midwest Preparedness, the workday at Delinquents Gully, and then Self-Reliance Festival. That'll be 5 separate get-togethers, which is awesome. This is exactly what I wanted it to be, and thank you guys for making it exactly what I wanted it to be. Also, remember our sponsor. Since our show has been twisted around while I've been live on the road, I try to mention at least a couple of them each evening when I go live. First off, don't forget my friends Nate and Aaron at Two Chicks Homestead. Nate is in the process. Actually, he has launched his ham radio business. So if you're looking for, handheld ham radios programmed for you with all the answers, check out Nate. Go to twochickshomestead.com. And, of course, our favorite Minnesotan, maybe not our favorite, well, I don't know, but we saw her in here earlier, Amy from A Farmer's Kind of Life. She just relaunched her podcast, and she took a chance on this podcast ages ago and became our second ever sponsor, which we thank her very much for. So if you're looking for some spicy but sweet motivation to stick in your ear holes, give her a go, guys. All right, and I see Jake from Ravenwood Acres. Hey, Farmers Kind of Life in there, Food Forest Farms, all kinds of people. So we're going to start off tonight with This Week in the Workshop. I haven't done that in a little while, and I wanted this to be as close to a everyday average episode for you guys as you're going to get while I'm on the road. twochickshomestead.com. Nate, I don't know if Nate has a website set up for his ham radio yet, but you definitely can get the link from their website. So today, guys, is officially day 21 of the 36-day road trip. 3 weeks on the road. Am I missing home? Yes. Do I want to go back north? No. How is that possible? I'm not really sure. But truth be told, I would stay down here for an awfully long time if I could. We're just starting to make some real headway on Delinquents Gully. I love it. And yeah, so the best I can do, hopefully, is after Christmas, once we get, well, we're going to talk about setting goals for the rest of this year. But once I get the last of my goals done for 2023, there's a good chance I'm going to be coming back down early in 2024. It would sure be nice. And I will, yeah, it'd be nice to be able to skip some of that really cold weather. I know it still gets chilly down here, but not minus 40 chilly, right? So, so I've been here 5 days. We got 4 work days on the property. Brian and I, we started out kind of picking away at some of the trails. If you guys saw the pictures, we got the composting toilet 98% done. The only thing we don't have yet is the 30-gallon pail that's going to go in underneath, or the barrel, whatever you want to call it. Other than that, it's all put together. So we now officially have a place to do our business there. That is the first permanent structure. We also got all of the framing lumber for my very first bunkhouse. This is going to go up at the top of the property. This is going to be the flat, not the top, but kind of third the way up, but it's got a good view down over. That's where Becky and I are going to have our main lodge, and then we're going to build bunkhouses out on the satellite properties, as they'll double as campsites and also places for the family to stay if they ever need to come and stay for any length of time. But we did have some incredible, anyway, it's been great to be down here and actually do some work and not just drive everywhere. It's been nice to kind of put down roots for a week. Brian and I went out 4 days. Sean Mills and Don Mills, they showed up on Saturday. It was great. I still struggle with this a bit, guys, how awesome our community is, and I appreciate all the love and support and help that everybody's given, and I love being part of that community. So for what it's worth, thanks Sean and Don for coming out, Brian and Corey. So there was 5 of us out there on Saturday. And then Sunday, Brian and Corey were nice enough to take me to their favorite local joint they found around here. We went to Earl's, which is like this garage kind of, gas station themed burger joint that was just, anyway, one of the best burgers I've had in a while. So what else did we do? Oh, yeah, get the truck repacked for tomorrow. I don't need the box for hauling lumber until I get back down here in a few days. So we're getting ready to hit the road to head north toward Kansas. The weather looks like it's going to be, it's right now it's been warm there, but it's going to get quite a bit cooler. And something that was actually quite enjoyable today. So today was my get everything put together, do paperwork, do podcast prep, put together some practice time on my presentation for Midwest preparedness, and also get my laundry done. But what I decided to do was I got up pretty early this morning. I went over to the truck stop, got a big cup of coffee, put it in an insulated mug, took my folding chair down to the property, went up to where Becky and I are going to have our actual kind of main landing area. And I sat there for a solid hour just drinking coffee, writing notes for the podcast, and just enjoying the sound. Brian told me he's done that a few times, just gone out and drank coffee on the property. And I said, you know what? I need to do it. And I did. And that's where today's kind of inspiration for recharging came from, was just sitting there realizing sometimes you just need to sit down and do nothing. That's not me. You guys got to know it's not always like me. But Brian says, and it's true. Whatever your version of prayer or meditation or just sitting down, turning off the devices and being quiet, it does something for your brain once in a while. All right, 2 more things. Brian and I filmed an hour-long kind of walk around the property, just chatting. It's a bit of a live stream. It wasn't a live stream, but it's a bit of a recording, a bit of a vlog, the whole thing. We just did it in one cut. So I've decided on a couple of things with this Delinquents Gully project, which is pretty exciting. I'm going to turn it into a series because people seem to like these series on some of these things. And so what I decided is I hired a guy on Fiverr. I sent him the hour-long footage. I'm going to have him put it together in 2 15-minute episodes, kind of really polished. I'll put the raw, unedited footage up after a bit as well. But we're going to turn it into a Delinquent Gully series. I may have enough footage from the previous trip down that I can do episode 1, but it's just going to be kind of 15-minute chunks here and there that kind of show you guys exactly what we've been doing. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's make it a big thing, because I'm working on, like I told you, all those interviews that I've got stockpiled. Right now I've got, oh man, I don't even know. Must be 15 altogether, including the other 2 events I went to earlier this year. I haven't, Brian wants to know if we have squirrels. I haven't really seen any yet, but keep an eye out. And Christopher John Muhammad, great to have you. And then finally, one more funny story I saw this morning as I was leaving. And I'm still not sure exactly what was going on, but as I was pulling out of the hotel parking lot today, 2 guys that both were pilot trucks. If you don't know what those are, they tend to be the ones, they have the flip-up lights and a sign that say, beware wide load coming behind. They were the very old S10s. And I believe it was a black one in front, a red one in back, and the black one could not get up this very minor incline. He was sitting there and you could hear him revving and black smoke was coming out from underneath and he just couldn't move. So the red guy, 100%, you know this dude has done this a bunch of times, just rams him from behind, gives him a push, and then hits him again and does it a second time, gets him out into the road, and off they go driving down the interstate. So, you know how it is. Hunter says, do you have a cartographer yet? Drones, topo maps. Actually, Brian Alexovich is going to work on the drones, but it would be really cool once we get some paths in there and the different campsites, some of the hip campsites. It would be really nice to have a drawn map of the entire thing. I think that would be kind of cool. So I'm working really hard. I haven't mentioned this yet, but we'll talk about it real quick. We found this natural arch. So we'd originally had the main path coming in that kind of diverted off to it. And Brian's like, we should really incorporate that. So now, after you come up the little driveway where we're going to have places for vehicles to come in, when you walk through the path, there's this natural tree that's fallen down but not dead. It's just kind of grown over, and we're going to hang a sign that says Delinquents Gully there. I may, if we don't finish the bunkhouse, that might be where I hang Nate and Aaron's sign that they gave me this year. But if we get the bunkhouse done, it's going to go up on there. But we're going to have a sign anyway. So it is coming together, guys. I'm rather excited, and we'll go from there. Off-grid ping. So, guys, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last live stream or not, but Off Grid Ping, he has a YouTube channel. Check him out. He is my neighbor down the road where Delinquent Scully is. We've met. We've chatted quite a bit. Met his kids the other day. Really cool dude. And he was just saying last year there were a ton of squirrels. This year I could literally count them on one hand how many I've seen. So strange how it goes. And one more segment, the nail bag. We haven't reached into the nail bag in ages. And just before, maybe a couple hours before I went live, I saw Carrie Brown asked a question in the Telegram group. And if you're not part of the Telegram group, I'll ask you one reason. Why aren't you? You need to be. It's where all the cool kids hang out. But really, it's just where we all interact and answer each other's questions. He had what looked like a canister of two-stroke or mixing oil. Has to be at least a decade old. It has Kmart as the label. And he was wondering if it was still good. I didn't know enough to answer it. I'm, of course, in my smart-ass head, I'm like, well, you know, if it was down in the ground for 1,000,000 years, and now it's just in a bottle, it seems like it's about the same as the Himalayan salt. However, there are additives and detergents and things like that mixed to two-stroke motor oil, or mixing oil, I guess we should call it. So, like everything on the internet, there's no consensus, but I did look up a couple of manufacturers' recommendations. And of course, once again, company recommendations compared to real-world scenarios tend to be a little bit odd. Most companies say unopened, sealed up with the foil cover, should get 5 years out of it. Once it's opened, if you keep the lid on, 2 to 3 years. Okay, that's what they say. But here's the other thing. One more thing. Older mixed oil doesn't have as good of additives in it as the newer ones. At least, again, that's what the companies say. However, many people, including Chris Dixon in the group, have used stuff that's well over 10 years old and no problems at all. So here is what most of the internet experts say on this. Open it up. If it hasn't kind of phase separated, if you don't have it, yes. Chris Dixon says the consensus is trying it yourself. I have 10-year-old two-stroke oil and it's been fine. Exactly. So if you open it up, it's not chunky, it's not separated, then you should be good to go. That's what almost everyone on the internet says, and I definitely trust Chris Dixon because the dude has 1 or 2 years on me, but more than that, he has a whole bunch of, oh, yes, oh my goodness, Michael Sparks could definitely answer that. If you want to comment on this, this is the AMSOIL expert here, guys. We're talking about two-stroke, well, anyway. Or if you want to send me a full follow-up, Mike, I'd love to hear about it, but we had a discussion earlier today on how long, you know, two-stroke oil will stick around. So anyway, all right, let's get into the thrust, the main part of tonight's show. And like I said, okay, first off, sitting there drinking my coffee, just as I finished my coffee, I decided that I was going to take a 30-second clip of just the sound and the beauty of the woods that I was in today so that I could take it back to Canada with me. And anytime I need that solitude, I'm just going to play it for 30 seconds and remember, hey, your place is waiting for you. You can come back. You can have a good time. And as I was sitting there, trying not just kind of letting my mind come up with tonight's theme, I realized, like always, I love to talk about the year and how fast it's gone by. And as of September 30th, October 1st, we have hit 75% of 2023 being gone. Now, that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, because it's not. There's been some incredible things happen in our community this year. And so what I want to start out with is focus on just a couple of cool things. I'm not going to name names or anything, but I want people to look back on the great shit they've done already so that they don't get discouraged and think, holy shit, I only got 3 months left, 25% of 2023. But anyway, somebody we've mentioned already tonight took an incredible chance, or a chance a year or so ago, and turned it into a really cool, side hustle. Anyway, it grew even bigger this year to the point where this project that they put together has paid their house off. So that alone should be enough. I know another dude who is side hustling his ass off constantly. He may or may not have a wedding coming up right away, but that is awesome. And I know people get burnout sometimes, but keep doing what you're doing. There's been tons of growth in content creation in our workshop family this year. keep it going. We got 3 months left. We're going to kick ass and get shit done. But we got to look at our goals. We got to work on it. And Brian says, nature is always is waiting for you always. That sounds a little bit like the start of a horror movie. Nature's watching you. No, that's anyway, that's from a Disney movie, isn't it? So we got 3 months left to kick 2023's ass, guys. So let's get at it. So we're going to look at, obviously, every time I do these episodes where we talk about goals, we got to look back on the goals we set. So every year since 2015, I have put a text document in my iPhone that says goals for 2023, 2022, all the way back. And I make a list and I itemize it. But something I've realized as I've gone on is that as the year goes on, now don't use this as an excuse to not get shit done, of course, but as the year goes on, priorities change. And as they change, sometimes you need to slash some of those goals out of there because they no longer, those small goals that you had listed, no longer line up with the long-term plan you have for your life. And that's cool. Kind of like selling the handyman portion of my business. If you'd asked me if I would ever do that, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, maybe even 18 months ago, I'd have called you absolutely insane. And yet here we are at the point where I've now sold that portion of the business. So priorities change. So we got to remember that, okay? Also, I'm just going to put it out there and I'm going to say this as polite and as nice as I can with my Canadian smile on her face. It's also time for some of us to piss or get off the pot. And what I mean by that is there's some people who have been dealing with ongoing issues that keep coming up, and we know the solutions to those. And I'm talking to myself here. There's a mirror right there above me you can't see. Some of these things are piss or get off the pot kind of time. So if there's something that you've been beating around in your head multiple times and you've maybe asked for advice about it, or you've asked yourself for advice and you just don't take your own advice, well, it's time to take your own advice, right? Simple as that. So I got an email from a cuddly kick in the nuts. Thanks, Food Forest Farms. And Farmers Kind of Life says, piss or get off the pot. Yes. Yeah, that's, I don't know where that comes from. Could be East Coast, could be the prairies. I don't know, but it is. It's time for all of us to piss or get off the pot just a bit. And I'm trying to be as, there you go. See, Chris Dixon's just like, shut up, Tim. Time doesn't care about your feelings. Simple as that. And that's what it is. Here I am trying to be all nice and polite. And, so Spags from Midwest Preparedness Festival messaged me, I don't know, about a week ago. Took me a couple of days to get back to him. And he wanted me to write a blurb about myself, a description, or it was really what it was a resume. It said, whatever kind of thing that you have that kind of any qualifications that build up what you do, I'd love to hear it. Now, for a second, I thought, really, I don't have qualifications to write about, right? And then there's a reason for that. So back up a little bit here, Tim. And I got this mirror up here in front of me. So I'm going to try to make a point here, and hopefully you guys can get this. When we look in the mirror every single day, we don't really see the change. I look in the mirror every day. I shave like once every 3 weeks, something like that. And of course, I know I've gotten older, but from yesterday till today, I don't necessarily see the change, right? However, when I go home out east to visit my parents and I walk into the side porch door, there's still a picture of me standing there when I hiked to the Balancing Rock down Digby Neck when I was 20 years old. So that thing is 22 years old. And you want to believe that when I quickly look at that picture and I think in my head what I see in the mirror today, you want to believe that those 22 years, there's been a huge change over that time. And what I'm getting at is when all we're doing is looking forward and getting busy and figuring out the very next thing that we need to do to check off on our goals list, it's really easy to forget how much great shit we've already done this year and the years previous. And so as I was putting this together, I was like, and I'm toot my own horn here a little bit, but it's like, yeah, spoke at 7 events around the continent this year. A member of the Expert Council, a YouTube channel with 10,000 subscribers, get to interview some incredible names in the industry, just all of those things. And I was like, holy shit. Yeah. Because when you're always looking forward to the next great thing that you need to do, sometimes take a minute, sit down, look back, and that alone will be enough to recharge your battery. Now, I'm not saying it is enough to recharge your battery, but it sure as shit could be one of the right things or one of the steps in the right direction. So take a minute. Wow. We're not going to go silent because we're on the podcast as well. But if anybody out there wants to, Amy Dingman says, you're calling me out, Tim. I'm not. I'm calling myself out here too, darling. So what I want everybody to do, you don't have, but throw in the comments something incredible you've done this year. I don't care how trivial or how large it is. It always helps me to look back. And when I wrote this, I was like, well, shit, stop being so hard on yourself, Tim. Sure, there's always room for improvement. But when you turn around and look how far you've climbed the ladder, time to be a little bit positive on yourself. So that's what I want you to do. Throw it out there, and I will mention a couple of things in the podcast here as we go along. And we're going to get into, Hunter says, incredible, not much. I promise you, the fact that we're all still here is pretty damn incredible, if you ask me. And your definition and my definition of incredible might not be the same, but in my mind, anything positive, any improvement from last year is incredible. So don't be hard on yourself, Hunter. Chris Dixon says 100% debt free. Now to remember not to let up on the throttle. And Hunter says nothing I do, I think, is incredible. Well, I want you to know that you are incredible. And if you get up in the morning and you go do something each day, that's pretty fucking incredible if you ask me. So, and it's okay. I know you're not shitting on yourself, and it doesn't have to be incredible in this big, grandiose way. It just needs to be something that makes you happy. I'll leave it at that for now. Food Forest Farm taught himself how to weld. I love it. Excellent. All right. It's funny that this is the next line in the notes here, guys, but kill the negativity. All right. So while I was sitting there, a butterfly flew by. This is going to be funny. Again, here we go. A butterfly flew by, and I'm like, it's a pretty butterfly. I'm really enjoying that. And then I thought, I haven't seen a lot of butterflies lately. You know the old story. Oh, the insects and butterflies used to be huge when, when we were kids. They were everywhere, and now you don't see them anywhere. And then I was like, I went from sitting there watching this beautiful butterfly just do its thing in the woods to insect apocalypse like that. That's how the brain works, guys. Okay? First thing I got to say is don't let yourself fall into that trap. Because when you start focusing on nice, positive things or things that you've done or something beautiful that you just happen to see, your brain's going to want to go, Tim, it's not. No. You didn't do anything real incredible this year. Or that butterfly's not that special, whatever it happens to be. Sometimes just sit there and enjoy the beauty of whatever the hell you've done or whatever the hell you're seeing. And it doesn't necessarily have to align with your goals at all. It could be just something you do to pull over and say, whew, that's nice. Just stop and enjoy it. Don't let the negativity come in. And for me, that's an illustration or a picture of when you're working on something great, all of a sudden, and I use this illustration all the time, but it's because I grew up on Bugs Bunny. But you remember the stupid little cartoon, and the angel be on one side and the little devil on the other, and the little devil represents the old kind of negativity that comes in. Just go there and fling him off and move on. So sometimes killing the negativity means embracing the nice little positive things, but don't let those negative self-talk coming in. Let's see. Rob, yeah, I'm happy for you, brother. $5 raise at his day job. Mike from Snail Creek started the nursery and sold almost everything. Double sales this year. Food, plant, nursery, Brookfield. Awesome. I love to hear it, guys. Okay, so while I was doing this, of course, because this is how my brain works, I started putting together my goals. No, sorry, let me go back. I started reviewing the goals that I had for this year, for the next 3 months of 2023. And I realized some of them fit, some of them don't. But when you've got the old TikTok 3 months left, it's time to put shit into perspective, okay? So for me, I made 3 goals to get me through the rest of 2023. And that's really where it's going to stop. I had to prioritize. So we'll talk a little bit about where you're heading for the rest of the year and how sometimes it's totally okay to just chop some of those goals off and just focus on the top-notch ones you want to get. And speaking of top-notch, so here's my 3 for you. What I'm going to commit to for the rest of this year, number 1 is continue to put out top-notch content. A review video every week. I'm going to put my heart and soul into every one of them because since I've been doing it, it's been paying off, literally and figuratively. So there's that. Number 2, get the rental renovated and ready to be on the market. I've put way too much time off on this one. This is not one of ours. It's one I do for somebody else. And I've been trying to make time. Sorry, I haven't been making time to do it. It needs to get done so that it's not hanging over my head. And number 3, get the minor renovations done for the property in Lloydminster for our second daycare. It's like 99%. I know I've told you guys we've been through, and this is, you know, my wife is incredible. I tell you guys that all the time. But we're into building number 4 that we have had tentative approval on and lost at the last minute. But we are further along with this one than we've been along with any of them. If all goes well, we're taking possession of the building somewhere between November 1st and 15th, depending on where the city stands with their stuff. So what that means is I'll probably be going up to Lloyd, which is an hour away, book a hotel and stay there for a solid week and get all the shit done for the daycare. So those are the 3. And I hold up 4 fingers as I say 3. Oh, see? So those are the things I need to get done. Were there other things on my list? Sure was, but they are the priorities. And the 3rd one says, get the renovations done in Lloyd for the daycare and start the money rolling in. Simple as that. Look at the things that give you the best bang for your buck. All right, now here's the thing. We're going to talk about recharging as we move on here. But we're going to look at that list of goals that you made, and I'm going to start making my list for 2024. I've actually started a little bit now. But here's the thing. You might have made too big of a list. That's okay. Don't use this as an excuse for not getting shit done. But a lot of times, if you're like me, my eyes are bigger than my stomach, which I know is saying something. But when it comes to stuff like that, sometimes we just make too many goals and we need to focus. So when you get to the end of this, and here's where we're going to start moving into the positive and trying to recharge ourselves to get shit done for the next 3 months. Clean up the clutter. Man, having a good time tonight. I'm going to throw this out here. First digger said $6 an hour cut at the job. I'll be retired by 24. There, oh, I think I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a positive or a negative. We'll go with there. All right. So first off, if you want to get motivated, cross off some easy goals with what you got left. So you look at what's on your list. What have you got in there that's an easy win? Because I do try to mention to front load your goals with difficult goals so that you get the big, heavy shit out of the way at the beginning of the year, and then you can get the small stuff. So look at your goals. What's the easiest one you can get left? It's the old Dave Ramsey snowball method. So look at those and cross one of them off your list if you can. Now, if you're still looking at your list, what is the one you've been putting off for the longest time? Is there something that you haven't quite finished? And if that's the case, that's okay too, because this is what I do. I get to something and there's a part of a goal that I don't want to finish. And so what it ends up becoming is it becomes the old millstone around the neck, or it just kind of follows you like, Pigpen, wherever he walked, he had that cloud of stench. Well, this is like the cloud of an unfinished goal, and it's always there. And it's hard to get motivated to finish that list if you've got that one shitty one just hanging there that's driving you crazy. Now, here's the next thing. Maybe you got a mess. And this is as much for me as it is for you guys, but I'm just thinking sometimes when I have to do something, and that might be putting a whole bunch of furniture together for the daycare, I use the fact that my garage is cluttered and messy and shit is everywhere as an excuse to not get things done. So is there a mess in the way? And that could be as simple as your brain's a mess, or a relationship with somebody's a mess, whatever it happens to be that you need to get out of the way. Clean up that mess so you can get going. Sometimes it takes, we were out there working the other day on the outhouse. Sean Mills shows up, and the entire first 2 days, Brian and I are cutting, and I'll go down to the ground and just use the cheap little cordless skill saw I got for cutting. And Sean's like, why don't we take 10 minutes and make some sawhorses, and it'll make life so much easier. 10 minutes of work made the rest of the project that much easier. Why I didn't do it before, I don't know. But that's the example. There might be a mess in the way of getting a goal done. Take 10 minutes, take a half hour, whatever it is, clean up the mess, fix something, and then get shit going. And here's the other thing. Maybe one of your goals is to eliminate a relationship in your life, or a family member, or whatever it happens to be. But if you're like me, I don't love conflict. I know it's hard to believe. And so we just let that shit sit out there and fester. Anytime that I have an uncomfortable conversation or situation to deal with, I will worry about it for days or weeks before I deal with it. However, again, that is a drain on the battery through and through. When you carry that with you everywhere, you just never feel like you're charged up. Christopher John Muhammad says, I've been retired for a year, still trying to figure this thing out. Good evening, Red Moose Farm. Great to have you. Digger says, better yet, my wife's asking about my imaginary friends. Well, the imaginary internet friends, we're special people here, man. And Whited Outdoors says, I got a lot of hobbies, so I usually have lists with categories. I do too. Lists and lists and lists. All right. So what part of your goals exhaust you? So here's the thing, because when we make goals, we want to get all kinds of shit done. There are going to be things that you might like doing, but they still tire you out. So for me, and I've talked at length about this before, I love, one of my favorite things in the entire world is going to events. Whether it was the workshop get-together in Illinois, prepper camp in North Carolina, or Midwest Preparedness, Self-Reliance Festival, I love them all. However, that doesn't mean that they don't drain my battery. Going to big, high-intensity social events, when you talk to 100 people, which I love, and I will never begrudge myself talking to anybody, and then you get up on stage and you do a presentation, and whatever it is, by the time that weekend is done, I'm hooped. I'm no good for nothing. I need alone time or quiet. I need to figure out what it is that recharges my batteries. And that could be the same for you. And I know sometimes you're like, well, Tim, you're a social butterfly. Well, sure. Yeah. But when it comes down to it, at a point, once I've done, especially prepper camps, 4 days long, by the time I'm done, I'm hooped. I need some time to recharge my batteries. So whatever it is, whatever your goals are, the hard ones, the ones that take the toll out of you, remember that. Pay attention to them and know that when you come out the other side, you got to take some time and recharge your batteries. And here's the thing with us people, with us get shit doners, people who concentrate on living life to the fullest. It's why some people just dip the hell out sometimes. And we're like, well, where did they go? And we don't necessarily know where they went or why they're not here right now. But sometimes when we focus on getting all the shit done, maybe it burns us out. Maybe we have emotional trauma or issues that we have to work our way through. Sometimes we just can't do that with other people looking. And so we don't ever hold it against people. But whatever it happens to be, if you're putting everything you have into getting shit done, remember to recharge your batteries afterwards. So I made a list of the things that drain my battery first. They're going to be different for everybody, but I figured if I listed them for you guys, then maybe you might recognize some of the things in you that drain the battery as well. Chris Dixon says, that's my new goal, learn how to talk to people. I really need to get better at it. Well, I know a guy who likes to talk, so anytime you want to talk, call me up and we can chat. But yes, I get you. It's tough. It can be a difficult thing. And Haas says, when I make goals, I add a due date. Makes me more motivated to get it done. Love that. Absolutely love it. Okay. So here's some of the tasks that are into my day-to-day schedule that if they don't get done, my yearly goals don't get done. Some of you will be like, I roll, of course, but paperwork and admin work, guys. You know, one of Jack Spirko's favorite sayings is, what do you hate, money? Well, no, but I hated paperwork so much for so long that I would put off my month-end invoices simply because I fucking hated doing month-end invoices, to the point where I'm sure over the years I probably missed one or two of them that I didn't get paid for simply because I put off paperwork that much. It needs to get done. Things like revamping the website, things like making a list of all the videos that I want to upload to my Amazon influencers account this winter. That kind of shit. When I'm done, I'm done. But here's the thing with that kind of stuff. Remember back in my university days when you would kind of work or, book work from sun up to sunset. By the end of the day, your brain would be so damn fried, but I couldn't go to sleep. I'd lay in bed and I hadn't done a damn thing all day, and I'd just toss and turn. My brain was going a mile a minute because it hadn't shut off yet. If I'd go for a walk or do something physical at the end of the day, it would help. We'll talk about that a bit more. And you guys are going to start to see kind of a pattern in some of these things that drain my battery. Video editing. Do I like it? I don't hate it, but it drains my brain. So some of the bigger jobs I'm going to start outsourcing to other people, because when I'm done video editing, I'm wiped. Simple as that. And I know you're like, well, I don't have to. Yeah, well, we all have things we have to do. Long phone calls or meetings. Simple as that. I have a rule of life that just about any meeting I've ever been a part of could have been replaced with a double-sided 8.5 or 9.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Simple as that. Phone calls, especially businessy phone calls, drive me crazy. I just suck at calling people in general. But when I'm done, I love meeting up with people individually in person. But long phone calls or meetings, whew, if I can, anyway. In-person events, we already talked about that. That drains my battery. Now, here's two more that maybe aren't something you guys might think about, but procrastination drains my battery. It's almost like, when a car has a phantom charge or a phantom draw or whatever, and Ravenwood, I bet Mr. Retired from the military, meetings are the worst. Yes, I hate meetings, 100% through and through. Procrastination to me is like when there's a phantom draw on a vehicle. And what ends up happening is the vehicle's sitting there and it's not doing anything, but the battery's just slowly dying. And eventually when you need to dive into it and turn it on, guess what? Battery's stone dead because it's been drawing a little bit. And that's what happens to me if I put something off more and more and more. The longer I put it off, the more I feel it. And the more even though I'm not doing anything, it makes me feel unenergetic, but it does. It literally zaps the life out of me when I'm putting something off. 100% of the time, when I face up to something and do it, I feel energized afterwards. In confrontation, I talked about that as well. And that goes hand in hand with procrastination. I hate confrontation. Always have. Can I do it now? Absolutely. But I hate it. And it drains my battery when I'm dreading the idea of confrontation, right? So here's the thing. When we're in the middle of big things, and whether that's this busy work or whatever goals we have to do, sometimes we end up feeling lost. And the easiest way, many, many years ago in university, I think I was a sophomore at the time, we went to Quiddy Falls is what it was called. Beautiful waterfalls, about 30 to 40 feet high. You could kind of swim in it. The water was a little bit cold. The thing was, the trail wasn't marked at all, not even a little bit. And so us, city-ish kind of folk decided, we piled into 2 or 3 vehicles and we headed out the 45-minute drive into the woods. And the thing about New Brunswick that was different than Nova Scotia, and Nova Scotia, you're like 50 to 75 kilometers from the ocean at any time. In New Brunswick, it's just this big block of hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of I don't know the exact amount, but of trees. It's just all inland is trees. So if you get lost in there, you're hooped. So we all pull over. Everybody's wearing summer clothes. Nobody's got any survival packs with them. Nobody has a compass or GPS. And this is pre everybody having a cell phone day. And we're pretty sure this is the path we're heading in. We all head into the woods. We get, 50 to 100 yards off the main trail, off the main road. And we're like, guys, I don't think this is the right place. Not at all. And all of a sudden, we all turn around and realize we don't have a sweet stinking clue how we get in, where we're heading, and we're all disoriented just like that. And so 2 or 3 people are like, hey, we're just going to head back. We know where we're going. I said, no, just wait. Let's all stand in place. One person head in the direction they think is where it's supposed to be. And as long as we can still hear you and we're within auditory contact of one another, so if you can holler and we can answer, nobody's going to get lost. We ended up having to do that 3 or 4 times before we found the road again. Everybody thought they knew the right direction. And here's the thing. Sometimes when you get overwhelmed, you've lost your charge. Sometimes you just need to sit in one place, watch the butterflies, drink the coffee, and get your bearings straight before you try to do anything. So, how in the world do we recharge? All right, well, ask yourself this. What are some of the things that you do, no matter how hard they are, when you're done, you feel better when you do them? Okay? For me, it's really 2 things, hard work and solitude. And that sounds really weird, but they go hand in hand, of course. The harder I work, the more I sweat, the hotter it is outside, the more I enjoy it for some reason sometimes. It doesn't mean I'm always going to enjoy it, but those are the things. Hunter says hitting the hot steel. Absolutely. That's all. I love hearing that. Haas says I go outdoors and take a hike. So for me, like I said, the 2 things that you would think, for some people, solitude would absolutely drain them. To be alone with themselves would be, oh man, I couldn't stand it. It would drive them crazy. But that's not the case with me. I need that sometimes. And hard work. Some people be like, yeah, that wears you out. Yeah, but it's a good worn out. Like Chris says, it tires your body and your brain. Like I said, it doesn't matter how hard I work on a project, even though I'm tired at the end, it's a good kind of tired. You know what I'm saying? It actually charges my battery. And here's the thing. Here's kind of how I look at it. Food Forest. Yes, crank up the music and dance. I didn't put music on there, but you are 100% right. I was driving the other day to the property and Down with the Sickness come on. And I cranked that up so loud, I'm sure that, the neighbors could hear it. And I just rocked out to it while I drove. And that is absolutely a way to recharge your batteries. John Muhammad says, grab a slingshot and go shooting. Love it. Yes, I love it. So this isn't so much a thing with lithium batteries anymore, but especially the older batteries, they would get a memory. And so if you would, deplete them 10%, charge them up, deplete them 10%, charge them up. So at some point, you could almost trick it and think that's all it ever needed. But what's good for a battery and what's good for our own personal battery is to tear it all the way down and then fill it back up. And Chris Dixon says, my neighbors love Metallica. I hope. Absolutely. And that's part of it. For whatever reason, for me, when I let myself go right to the edge and wear myself right down and then come back up, I feel more recharged than if I do almost nothing all day and then just have a little nap at the end of the day, wake up in the morning, and I feel recharged. So I made a list of the things, and this is, again, it's not exhaustive by any means, but I made a list of the things that recharge my battery. And so hopefully what it'll do is maybe you guys will make your own personal list, or what I like already, what people have been doing is throw what recharges your batteries up here. So if I'm forgetting something, then somebody else maybe will get inspired by yours. Hunter says it's draining not finishing things for me. Yes, that used to be something that my superpower was not finishing things. And now I think my superpower is at least attempting to finish things. So that's good. All right. So number 1, things that charge my battery up. Learning a new skill. That is how I have been my entire life. It's part of being a modern Renaissance man, or whatever the hell you want to call it, a polymath, just the fact that I'm always wanting to learn something new. There is nothing that excites me, gives me the old tingles on the back of the neck more than learning a new skill, learning something new. Even a new fact sometimes is enough to get me going and recharge my batteries. Number 2, a physically exhausting project. Something like on the weekend when I need to build a deck at the daycare, I go over and I spend all day with earbuds in my ears, listening to audiobooks, which we'll talk about in a minute, and just working and draining myself down. You feel so much better. Chris Dixon says, standing in a stream with a fly rod is an ultimate recharge. Love it. Listening to audiobooks. Jake from Ravenwood, if he's still in here, he just recommended to me a really good book that I just started today. I'm halfway through, and the title of it is, I think it's called Prepared. I'll tell you here in just a second. It's written by, Prepared. See if I can bring it up without making any noise. Prepared, a manual for surviving worst-case scenarios by Mike Glover, founder of Fieldcraft Survival, and the foreword by Jack Carr. It's a deep look into practical survival with a military bent and a psychological aspect to it. Totally different than most of what I've been listening to recently, but getting lost into, hey, right on. I'm going to stop right there. B-Man J. Guys, this dude is an awesome dude. We're going to have him on to do a full-fledged interview at some point. Yes, Chris Dixon is on Audible. B-Man J, it was absolutely great to meet you. And I'm going to toot his horn just a little bit, guys, because you remember that commercial many years ago, The Most Interesting Man in the World? Pretty sure he's a runner-up. So anyway, but when Jay's interview comes out, you're going to find out some cool things about him. But, dude, it was great meeting you and your dog and shaking your hand at Prepper Camp. Long car rides. I don't know what part of that is, the audiobook thing, but long car rides recharge my battery sometimes. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be, exhausted at the end of a car ride, but there's something about losing myself on the road for 8 to 10 hours that on the other end, I feel pretty damn good when I'm done. And is this B-Man from Clapper? I think it might be. I'm going to guess it probably is because he's friends with Jester and them. So, all right. This one's kind of funny. No, this one isn't funny. Time on the treadmill or going for a walk. When I do it and make time for it, I feel absolutely great. End period, full stop, exclamation point. Why don't I do it more often? I'm not sure. Next one, this one's kind of funny, but spending time by myself doing anything but talking to other people. Simple as that. I love the sound of my own voice. I love talking to you guys. I love talking to other people. But there are times when I just don't want to do it, and it recharges my battery by not doing it. This is a funny one, but modifying or tweaking something so that I get 1% better. When I look, and this goes, it's counterintuitive to what I talked about earlier, how I don't like the administrative tasks. But what I do like is doing a deep dive into something with the assumption that on the other end, that is going to become 1% better, because you've heard me say that's my mantra and I love doing it. Making a to-do list and then crossing things off on the to-do list. B-Man J says conversation and knowledge. Yep, you fit in well around here, brother. And but making a to-do list for me, sometimes when I'm buzzing all around something and I can't seem to land on it, and I don't know if it's because I need a charge or whatever, but making a to-do list is a way for me to ground myself. And I get that from my father. And then, of course, not just making the to-do list. That's the first step in the right direction. But the next is crossing items off, just knocking them down one by one. One-on-one time with good friends. Simple as that. Whether it's 15 minutes on the road, heading somewhere, stopping to see Chris Dixon, or dropping in and hanging out and having a great conversation with Nicole and Tactical Redneck at the Holler. Simple as that. There's something about that when you can just be 100% yourself and talk to other people. Next is a good movie. You hear me talk about movies all the time. But the one, for me, And this has been the hardest part, being on this 30, 35, 36-day road trip, is going somewhere with my wife. She knows I miss her like crazy, and I do. Hopefully I'll get to see her sooner rather than later. But whether it's going to the city for a dentist appointment or going on the road for 15 or 20 days together, when we're done, we both will say it. We're like, we just need to get away, you and I, because life is all crazy and hectic, and we just need the time to get away. And that right there alone. And I told Mama Bear this a while ago, but I said, that's one of the greatest things, is that we could travel all the time, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and never get tired of each other. And that's what I love about it. Because when we start to feel kind of overwhelmed, or life's getting a little buzzy all the way around, that's what we do. We go somewhere together, and it recharges our batteries. Chris Dixon says, the dopamine of a check mark. Check. Yes, you just checked a great one there, but that is 100%. I don't know how foolish or crazy or whatever it is, how motivated I get by a simple piece of paper with a bullet list of items, and the first one gets crossed off. Heaven help me, I'm all set. Ed Celio, great to see you this evening. And like I said, part of recharging your battery is making sure you run your batteries down enough to make recharging worth it as well. If you're not doing anything, you're not going to get the dopamine hit from recharging as well, right? But that's what it comes down to, is taking the time. Well, first off, people who feel like they need a recharge, but they haven't done anything. It's like the whole idea when somebody says, I need to get motivated. I need motivation to do something. No, you don't. Here's the deal. You'll never, if you wait for motivation to come along, you're never going to get it. But as soon as you start, that's when you're going to get motivation. And that's kind of the way with recharging and charging things. When you're wore out, when you're busy doing shit, that's when you need to stop and do the recharge. But a lot of times we're like, you know what, I'll recharge first and then I'll do shit. So, if you've been busy doing stuff all along, then you probably do need to take a little bit of time and, throw those nickel metal hydrate batteries into the old Radio Shack charger that you have sitting in the basement that's been collecting dust since your grandfather was 40 years old, and boost yourself up just a little bit. Figure out what it is, whether it's a good meal, whether it's eating healthier, whether it's getting the hell out, getting some fresh air, working your gas tank down to empty. I always tell you, don't ever go below half a gas tank. But when it comes down to it, in this instance, drain yourself out and then recharge yourself up, and you will come out feeling so much better. B-Man J uses Tai Chi or meditation to help recharge. I can see that. Absolutely can see that. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. Finally, it's time to set goals for next year, or soon enough it is, because this is how I work. I usually use the last month to 3 months of the year to start looking forward to next year. And so as a goal comes up, I write it down. No matter how simple or stupid or pointless it might seem, over the next 3 months, no idea is dumb. Write them all in there. And that last week before, old man 2023 turns into new baby 2024, that's when you organize your goals. That's when you get rid of the ones that don't make sense for your theme of the year. And like I said, Tai Chi and meditation right here in my notes, guys. I said, cut yourself out a half hour somewhere. And like I said, whether it's to pray or it's to meditate or just to sit quietly and get lost in your own thoughts, it's something I haven't done in a long time. It's something I really, really suck at. Beyond, I just never had the ability or the desire to do it. But every time I do it, I come out feeling recharged. And when I went down to Delinquent's Gully today, and I stopped at Love's Truck Stop, and I got myself a nice coffee with some heavy cream for a change, which was great because I've been drinking it black lately. And I took it down there, and I hauled that stupid little folding chair up there to the plot where our first bunkhouse is going to go, and eventually our full-fledged cottage, cabin, whatever you call it. And I just sat there, and I looked out, and I enjoyed the view, and I listened to whatever it is those things are that buzz and hum all the time. And I had a woodpecker come around and go every so often, and just to watch the random leaves fall, guys, it made my day. It recharged my batteries, and it's just something you have to do once in a while. It's easy to get caught in the get shit done mindset, and it's just one of those things. You're like, I gotta go, run, do. And then all of a sudden, if you do too much and you burn your battery up, you're no good to anybody. So once in a while, it is totally, I appreciate that. Thank you, B-Man. And once in a while, you have to stop, because one of two things: if you don't see it coming and you don't stop, your battery's going to burn up. So you're better off to choose when you stop and recharge your battery. And then, because we don't leave it there. We don't just sit around and recharge your battery all day and call it good. Hell no, we take that energy and we put it into something productive with that get shit done mindset, and we go from there. So guys, I hope you appreciated this tonight. I love doing these episodes. I was glad that I got motivated out in the woods today for you, and this is what came out of it. But if you guys want to follow up with me in Telegram, let me know what you're going to do to recharge, or if you need a recharge. I know Tracy said in the Telegram group earlier tonight that this exact topic was what she needed tonight. And it was the thing that I needed as well. And hopefully it was something that you guys could use. It was good to see all kinds of nice new names in here. And B-Man J, you're welcome back anytime. L2 Survive. See, I've been on this road trip, and look at this, guys. Like, I just think it's cool. So anyway, if you go back here, I go back a little bit. Off-Grid Ping. Met him on my road trip this year. He's my neighbor in Tennessee. L2 Survive. I met in person at Thrivalist Fair in Washington on my trip. B-Man J, I met you, brother, this year on my trip at Prepper Camp. This is the power of in-person connections. And I know that's been a theme, but I love you guys. It's always great to meet you. Food Forest Farm says, thanks for the power up. Love you, brother Tim. I love you, brother Brian. And Digger says, Church of the Woods, go out, sit, watch, nap, and repeat. Absolutely. So I don't know. You may get another, I'm not going to promise anything. You may get another live stream this week. You may not. There'll be recordings. There'll be new content going out there. I've got stuff in the pipeline in case I don't have time to do another live stream before Midwest Preparedness. You'll definitely get a post-Midwest Preparedness Project Festival update as soon as I'm done there. Probably record it on the road back to Tennessee. And then what do we got going on? After Midwest Preparedness, I'll be down here from Monday through Thursday. Thursday is going to be the big work day. We're going to, all us delinquents are going to gather at Delinquents Gully. Somebody remember to bring a Sharpie so we can all sign the outhouse, or the, well, what are we going to, well, you might be able, if you could sign the bridge, or you can sign the bunkhouse as well, but at least the outhouse. Some guys are going to make a bridge. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. So it is absolutely great. Can't wait to see you. Self-Reliance Festival will be the last event of this incredible, epic 36-day, more than a month-long trip. And thanks for keeping me company while we do it, because there are days that it gets lonely. But you know what? That's exactly how we recharge. So thank you, Workshop, Delinquents, and I will see you. Yeah. Oh, one more question here. Mike says, where is your Tennessee property? 40 minutes direct south of Camden. And Off-Grid Ping, I appreciate you as well. I'll be back in this area as of Monday next week. So as always, brothers and sisters, fellow Workshop Delinquents, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.